In this demo, we'll show you how to orchestrate data integration jobs using triggers and execute jobs inside a parent job. Here's the job we'll use in this demo. It contains two subjobs, graphically defined on the designer in two distinct blue squares. If the subjob's execution is not orchestrated using triggers, they'll both run at the same time. The first subjob reads a delimited file and loads it in a MySQL table, while the second subjob catches execution logs. Let's take a look at the Contexts tab. The job is configured using two contexts, one for development and the other one for production. They contain three variables. File path sets the location of the customer's file. Log file sets the name of the job execution log file. Log path sets the path to the directory where the log file is stored. The file path variable is used to configure the tfile input delimited component. The TDB output component is configured using the MySQL database metadata. It inserts data in the customer's table. The action on table is set to drop table if exists and create. The die on error option is selected. The tfile input delimited component for the logs output is configured using the log path and log file variable. The current date is added to the output file name. To enhance the execution logs, let's add a message that tells us when the first subjob succeeds, and an error message telling us if the TDB output component fails. We'll place a twarn and a tdie component on the designer and connect them using triggers. Trigger connections do not carry data, only execution orders. Let's connect the twarn and the first subjob with an onSubjobOK trigger. Then configure the message that's logged if the first subjob ends without error. Rename the twarn and the tdie components, then connect the tdie and the TDB output components with an onComponentError trigger, and configure the message that's logged if the component fails. We're ready to run the job. The job runs with the development context and finishes without error. Let's have a look at the logs collected during the execution. We can see the warning message we configured. Now let's update the TDB output component to make it fail using a false table. Run the job again. The job fails with no surprises. Several log files are available. The last one contains the error message we configured before. Let's roll back manually to the previous TDB output configuration and save the job. In Talend Studio, you can create different jobs for processing different business requirements, and then orchestrate the execution of these jobs in a parent job. For instance, you can build several jobs to create dimensions and facts tables of a data mart separately and manage their execution in a parent job. Child jobs are nested inside the parent job by using trunJob components. Let's create a new job to orchestrate the execution of our data load job. The trunJob component is available in the palette. You can drag it to the designer like any other component. But the easiest way is to drag the child job directly from the repository. Let's add a tfile_exist to the designer and configure it to check if the customer's file exists before executing the child job. Connect the component to the trunJob using a runIf trigger. To configure the trigger, select it and select the global variable exists. Add a tMessageBox component. Connect it using another runIf trigger and configure it to display a message if the file is not there. Use the same global variable and enter an exclamation point before it. Let's run the job. Because the file exists, the child job executes successfully. The original message is visible in the console. A new log file has been created. Let's rename the customer's file so the tfile_exist won't find it. Let's run the parent job again. The file does not exist. The message is displayed on the screen. The child job has not been launched. In this video, we showed you how to orchestrate data integration jobs in Talend Studio using parent jobs, subjobs, and triggers.